Lost in the Woods with Coy here. I want to go and read in the Bible a little bit today, hence the title Lost in the Word with Coy. And I want to read a little bit in Genesis chapter 1. Um, I'm not a minister, I'm not a pastor, I'm not an evangelist, just a average Joe. I'll pick up the Bible and read it and see what we can get out of it. No study Bible, no nothing like that. I've read the Genesis a few times, quite a few times, and there's a lot going on in Genesis. If we slow down and read it and think about it, there's a lot going on. You can miss a lot of stuff there. So let's read a little bit of it and see what we can get out of it. Just somebody just picks up the Bible and starts reading, see what we can get. I'm gonna be reading from the King James version because that is the most popular Bible I'm assuming out there that people read. So we're going to start in Genesis 1. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. So the heaven and the earth was created. And for what I understand, um, if you read further in the Bible, that there's like seven heavens. Um, but in the beginning, God created the heaven, which was the sky, I'm assuming was the sky. And then the earth was created. So we'll read a little bit and then we'll go back and see what we can find here. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and the darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning were the first day. Now, if we go back and look at this, it says, and the earth was without form and void. So, and darkness was on the face of the deep, so there was no light then. And I'm assuming that the earth was just a ball of water. There was no land, there was no nothing. And that's pretty wild to see that there was, the earth was, just a ball of water, just like in Noah when, the flood happened, the earth was covered with water. Well, actually, in the beginning, the earth was covered with water. That's pretty wild. And then, God said, "Let there be light." So I'm assuming the sun was made then. Um, and there was light, and God saw light, that it was good, and he divided the light from the darkness. So I'm assuming that's when the earth started spinning. I mean, I'm just thinking here, guys. I'm not saying any of this is the way it actually happened or not. I'm just thinking out loud. So to me, it's like, okay, to separate the dark from the light, you would have to have the earth rotating, and then it would have to rotate around the sun. I'm assuming so that's. And then God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." So the water on the earth, he divided and made water in the sky. So the heaven to me is the sky. He created the skies. So that would, where the clouds would be in and all that. And there's, a body of water on the earth, and there's a body of water in the heavens, in the sky. And divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so. This is just my, what I'm, getting from it. I could be right, I could be wrong. If anybody has other thoughts, put it out there in the comment. All right. And God, okay, so God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day. Now, the first day, how long was that day? How long did it take? Hey, Ray, how's it going, man? Glad to see you. Um, I was wondering how long was a day? How long is a day? Is it, a 24-hour period? Did he create, the heaven and the earth in 24 hours? Or was it longer than that? Now it's mentioned, I'm assuming if I remember correctly, it's mentioned in the Bible, a day is as 1,000 years to God. So did it take 1,000 years to create the heaven and the earth? Because let's see, and God saw the light, and to create the light and the dark, separate the light from the darkness. So creating light. And God called the light day, and the darkness He's called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. Now, did this take 1,000 years to create all that in the first day, or was it 24 hours? I'm not sure. I'm thinking more on the lines of it took 1,000 years to create all that. Now, I could be wrong. It could have been 24 hours. I don't know. It doesn't really say. Okay, and God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the heavens." And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. So, like I was saying, you have the waters and the earth. And the earth was just a big ball of water at this time still. It was just a big ball of water. There was no land, no mountains, no nothing yet. Assuming it was all under the water. So he separated the water. So you got the water on the earth and water in the sky. So, okay. And God called the firmament heaven, which is the sky, and evening and the morning were the second day. So, like I said, did that take another 1,000 years? So that's 2,000 years to get to this point. Now, and it says, chapter 9 here, I mean, in verse 9 here, in chapter 1. And God said, "Let the waters under the heaven be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear." So there you go. The water covered the whole earth, so there wasn't no land until He separated it. And it was so, and God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called He seas. And God saw it was good. And God said, "Let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth." And it was so. And the earth brought forth grass, and the herb yielding seed after his kind, and tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after his kind. And God saw it was good. And the evening and the morning were the third day. So in the third day, he separated the waters, created the dry lands. So there was the sea and the dry lands, and then you know the grass, the herb yielding seeds, the trees, and all that were created. So that was the third day. So it took would that have taken 1,000 years to do that? I'm just thinking out loud. So I'm not saying this is all set in stone. I'm just the way I'm thinking that, because it takes time for these things to grow as we see on Earth now. When a tree is planted, it takes many, 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 many years for a tree to get, you know, to be, a big tree, a tree that's, yielding fruit and stuff like that. It takes time. So did God plant all this, on the earth, and it has to take root, and it has to, the grass has to grow and spread, and the trees have to grow. So I'm not thinking it was in 24 hours. It doesn't seem right to me that all the grass on the earth was made, or growing, and it grew, and bam, it was there in 24 hours, and all the trees and all that. So to me, I'm thinking, this had to take some time for all this to set root, and and be all over the earth. This is just my opinion. I'm just thinking out loud here, so I'm not saying that this is the way it is. And then, okay, and God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night." Now, I'm assuming that was the stars. And we'll go on and read and see. "And let them be for signs and for seasons." So the stars, in the skies for signs, for seasons, I'm assuming, and for seasons and for days and for years. So yeah, that makes sense. "And let them be for light in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth." And it was so. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. So I'm assuming that was, the sun was created, and then the moon was created. Doesn't really say that right here yet. So this is what I'm assuming. That the sun was created, the moon was created, and the sun was for the day, and then the moon was for the night, and the stars, I'm assuming, too. And then God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day. So I'm assuming that was another thousand. So that's 4,000 years to get to that point. I was, and I've read this several times, and when you slow down and you start reading it and you start paying attention, and you start thinking about it, you're like, wait a minute, I always thought, yeah, oh, 24 hours that was created. This was created in 24 hours. This is, but if you stop and you think about it, it's like, wait a minute, it takes time for this stuff to, to come, like the trees I was saying, the grass growing and all that, and all this to be made and, put in its place. Now, that's just like I'm saying, this is just me thinking out loud. That's what makes more sense to me than a 24-hour period that these things were done in. And God said, "Let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that hath life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of the heaven, which is the sky." And God created great whales, and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters and the seas, and let fowl multiply in the earth." And the evening and the morning were the fifth day. So this is another 1,000 years for all this to take place. And God said, "Let the earth bring forth a living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping things, and beasts of the earth after his kind." And it was so. And God made the beasts of the earth after his kind, and the cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And he said, "Let us make man in our, let us. Let's stop there for a minute. And God said, "Let us make man in our image." who is the other ones to us? Us is plural. It doesn't say, and God said, I'll make man in my image. It says, and God said, let us make man in our image, in our. So that's another plural, right? Am I right here? So who is God talking about here? Who was with God at this time? Is it Jesus? Is it, him and Jesus, Yeshua, or is it more than that? It doesn't really say who he's talking to, but he's, saying, and God said, let us. So who are the us? That's something to think about, isn't it? Who are the us? Who is he referring to there? Let us make man in our image, our image. So that's something to really think about there. Is he talking about Yeshua? Is he talking about lesser gods? That are underneath him. I don't know. That's a deep one right there. If you really start thinking about it, well, let us let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So God created man in his own image. So then right there it says, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. Hmm. Now there I'm assuming it's just God. So God created man in his own image. And the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. So if you go back, it says, God said, and God said, let us make man in our image. And in here is written, so God created man in his own image, in the image of God created he him, male and female created he them. Hmm. God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. Replenish. Now, is that saying that the earth was there things on the earth before, because we're replenishing the earth, we're filling the earth again? Was there a civilization before? Before he created Adam and Eve, was there a civilization before? Hmm. I'm just thinking out loud here. It says, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. Now, I would think if it wasn't something before, it would say, be fruitful, multiply, and fill the earth. Hmm. Okay, let's move on. And subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. And God said, behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat. And to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat. And it was so. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day. So that Another 1,000 years, 6,000 years. Now here it's saying, and I'm just thinking out loud here. Here it's saying that man and woman were given the herbs, the trees, and all that as meat. So did they not eat meat then? Were they vegetarians at that time? That there was just eating fruit from the trees and herbs from the field, because it doesn't say they were eating animals at that time. So yeah, I have given you every herb bearing seed which is upon the face of all the earth to eat, and in every tree, and the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed to you to eat. To you it shall be for meat. So I'm assuming they weren't eating meat then; they were eating fruits and vegetables, I guess, or herbs. And to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life. So all the animals and all the creeping things were eating, I guess, herbs, fruits, and vegetables, or whatever. Now, second Genesis verse. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day, God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day for all his work which he had made, and you know, work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made. All right. Well, we'll stop right there for right now. And later on, we'll go and read some more. But now, was that 7,000 years to get to that point? To create all that? I don't know. Was Who was God talking to when he said, let us? There was a lot of things there, and like I said, the earth was flat, nothing but a ball of water at one time. So there was a lot going on there. Um, so I'll stop right there for right now. We'll think about that a little bit. If you guys got some comments to put out there, I'd like to, see the comments and what you think, and and see if I'm off base here, if I'm just reading it without a Bible, study Bible or anything like that. I'm just reading it for like anybody would pick up the Bible and read it. And this is what, I'm thinking. I'm just thinking out loud here, thinking, okay, is this what this means? Or, is this? Or, what's all going on here? But there's a lot going on if we stop and really think about it. But all right, guys, until the next time, this is Lost in the Woods with Coy. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification button when my next video comes up. And I appreciate if guys leave some comments. All right, thanks, guys. I'm out.